Good morning. I'm not here to speak for or against this particular thing, but to just fill you in on what the conditions are in Summerplace. We applaud the efforts of the people that put out this information and got people down here today to voice their opinion. Unfortunately, most of the information they got is erroneous and doesn't make sense compared to what actually is happening. One of the biggest... Would you mind letting me talk? Thank you. Would you mind letting me talk? You can talk when I'm done.
Listen. Ma'am, please. Did you arrive after everybody was sworn in, Bill?
I'm sorry?
Did you arrive at the meeting after we were sworn?
Yes, I did.
Okay, we just need to swear you in.
I can talk later, I don't care.
No, I want you to talk right now, but you have to be sworn if you're going to testify. So please, Bill, do that.
Can you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing
Yes,
but
I
the
do.
truth, so help you God. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Again, I want to reiterate, I'm not here to talk for or against this, but I want to tell you what's
Excuse me for one more minute. Members of, you can't interrupt, and I've heard a couple of swear words and and I understand everybody's emotional about it. I understand it's a big issue, something everybody is out there is very concerned with. Every one of you will get your turn, and I'll let you talk as long as you need to. But I ask each of you to give everyone else the respect when they have their turn at the mic. And hopefully, you'll want that same respect when you speak. So let's just try to give it to each other. I don't want to have to ask anybody to leave, but I will if I need to. So let's all just take our turns here, and maybe we can work through this thing and come to the right resolution. I'm sorry, Bill, go ahead.
One of the things that sticks out on this thing, and it hit me too when I saw it in print, is the fact that it's a 5,200 square foot home. I didn't know the size of it, to be honest with you. Mr. and Mrs. Romano chaired up the Architectural Review Committee. I reviewed the plans that they approved and their signatures, and it's the same plans as pretty much as what's there now. That hasn't changed. So it was approved about a year ago by our Architectural Review Committee. Let me just go back for a second. Summerplace was developed in 3 sections. Sections 1 and 2, which is the deed restricted area, where units 1 and 2 were the original development of Summerplace. And then after that, they developed areas 3 and 4, which are not deed restricted areas. This property is in the deed restricted area. It's in an area that's covered by a homeowners association and covered by certain bylaws and certain architectural requirements. Part of those architectural requirements is that we appoint an architectural review board. I've been president of the Summerplace Association since 1992. I've been a resident of Summerplace since 1985. I stepped down last year because my home was one of the homes that were beat to death in Summerplace by the hurricanes that came in 2004, and I couldn't live in it. It's being rebuilt as we speak. The area of Summerplace itself has an association that has looked at this thing. I polled the board of the association again over the weekend, and they unanimously supported the plans as have been submitted and has been approved by our Architectural Review Committee. But I think it's important that you all have an idea of what the neighborhood is. And Stan, you had a map up here before that, I think it's the second one down there, something that, yeah, that'll do it. This house is going to be on, actually extends 70 feet to the east of the seawall, 73 feet to the east of the seawall. But because of the fact that we had to put a seawall in to protect the houses from falling in the ocean, it kind of cut his property off. And the cul-de-sacs, there's 3 of them. Cul-de-sacs A, B, and C have 3 lots that are all subject to being not as deep as they should be. One of the problems that we've got in Summerplace is how do you go about allowing property to be developed under private property rights? And this is the United States of America, we have our property rights. How do you go about having the property developed and still not offend your neighbors? When I moved into Summerplace, I had probably what was the biggest house in Summerplace. And when I saw this thing come up over the weekend, and I got about 18 calls from people in Summerplace that wanted to know what was going on, both in the area of the association and the area that doesn't have the association. So I went and I looked in to see what a 5,200 square foot house was to refer to in Summerplace. I could only find one. And it's a new one, and it's a really nice house. And it's at 1920 Barefoot Place West. And it belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Fox.
How many square foot is there?
5,348 according to the property appraiser.
Air conditioned, two-story, and what size lot?
Same as the other one, same as that county.
We have 150 foot frontage.
150 foot by 125.
But this is not a criticism. This is just saying if you want to take a look at a house to see what a 5,300 square foot house looks like, or 5,400 square foot house, there's a house to look at. They built it a couple years ago. We have right now, and I hope you can hear me because I'm going to try to point over here, this property right here, I heard, has already been approved to have a 7,000 square foot house on it. They didn't need any variances to put it there. I just found out about this. This property here sold recently for $800,000, and last year we received a letter, a copy of a letter that was sent in by the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Romano, that they had just invested over $200,000 in renovating it. This property
Hey,
here,
Bill, what's the 7,000 square foot you're referring to?
that would be on lot number 12,
And that's the one, the builders here?
directly to the north of the property that we're talking about right now.
Okay.
The next property up in area 5 is going to have a 4,800 square foot home, and I understand those permits have already been issued. This next lot here is the Williams lot, and that one, if, Lord forbid, their house had burned down or they had to rebuild, they would probably need a variance also because they lost their property off the end of the cul-de-sac. The next house up is my house, and I have enough space, fortunately, that I don't have to worry. But that repeats itself on the next block because our association covers those three oceanfront properties, three oceanfront blocks. There's a lot gone into this thing. I wish we were still Summerplace. I wish we were still the lower rises. I wish we were still smaller houses. If you look at that block, take a look down near US 1. There's a double lot there. That's presently on the market at $1,300,000 for the double lot, sitting up against the parking lot. And anybody that buys that is going to have to put up a home that a $1,300,000 lot will support.
You mean the
This right
corner
here.
lot on A1A?
Yeah. right
Okay.
here.
You said US 1.
I'm sorry. The other properties here, on Barefoot Place, for argument's sake, this property that doesn't show anything, there's presently a 5,600 square foot house being built there, one lot off the ocean, and it's right behind me. It's just west of me. And again, let's talk about this two-story. The two stories are above the main story. We have at least 8 or 9 different homes in Summerplace that all have put in stilts. And the first story was considered for stilts and for usually non-usable area. And then we were allowed to go 2 stories above that. We have them on Pebble Path East, we have them on Barefoot East, and probably going to have them on Shell East. In essence, what you're looking at here is an area...
Help me out here.
Go ahead.
It's 3 stories in height.
3 stories in height, but 2 stories primarily are the livable
The
stories.
lower level, the lowest floor is not usable? Is it for parking?
Well, it can be usable, but it's generally when it's built, it's shown as just an open area or parking area.